Here at CBR, we can't wait to see the What If series on Disney+. No, we're not joking. We literally can't wait to see all kinds of wacky, wild what-if scenarios involving our favorite Marvel characters. So today we're going to be taking a look at one crazy situation which we didn't get to see on the big screen. What would happen if Ronan the Accuser succeeded in his plan to destroy Xandar and challenge the Mad Titan head-on? Although we all know he was stopped in no small part due to the power of dance, what would the MCU be like if the Guardians hadn't stopped him when they did? There are questions Redditor Zeesh10 wants to know the answer to, and we're only too happy to oblige. They asked what would happen if Ronan the Accuser destroyed Xandar and then set his sights on bringing down Thanos. And we have to agree, that would have been dope to see. In Guardians of the Galaxy, Ronan was working with Thanos, who was on his quest to collect all of the Infinity Stones. Say what you will about the big purple guy, but at least he's dedicated. Thanos wanted to wipe out half of all life in the universe, but Ronan wanted to decimate 100% of all Xandarians. Is Ronan an even bigger jerk than Thanos? Albeit a little less successful one? Let's leave that question for another day, huh? Ronan agreed to help Thanos obtain the orb containing the Power Stone in exchange for Thanos' pinky promising to help him destroy Xandar. Okay, maybe they didn't actually interlock pinkies, but we like to think they did. Anyway, Ronan realized he could just use the Power Stone to destroy Xandar on his own, instead of handing it over to the Mad Titan. But in the end, it was a moot point, since the Guardians of the Galaxy defeated him and reclaimed the orb, leaving it with the Nova Corps for safekeeping. There, it definitely didn't attract Thanos to come and wipe out all Xandarians and the Nova Corps anyway. There are so many ways the Guardians' fight against Ronan could have gone wrong. Groot could have failed to shield everyone from impact, and everyone could have perished when their ship crashed. That would have been really anticlimactic, but hey, it could have happened. Or Peter and the Guardians could have been torn apart by the Power Stone instead of the Celestial Heritage helping them survive. Or Ronan could have just bashed everyone with his big old hammer in a world where Star-Lord's dancing was just a little bit less distracting. As far as the destruction of Xandar goes, well, Thanos takes care of that as he reveals in Avengers Infinity War. Of course, since it happened off-screen, we'll just have to imagine what it looked like and wonder whether or not Roman Day managed to survive long enough to transfer his powers to Richard Rider and create the hero called Nova. But that's a topic for another day as well. We're talking about at least a momentary triumphant Ronan, who might reveal some of the characteristics he has in his source material, which never made it to the big screen. In the comic books, Ronan started out as a less than humble member of the Kree Public Accuser Corps, before he valiantly stopped a fleet of Skrull ships from invading Kree territory. Remember, unlike in the MCU, the Skrulls in the comic book are generally the bad guys. This resulted in a big promotion for Ronan, and he was made Supreme Accuser, a position which looks fantastic on a business card, and is second only to the Supreme Intelligence and the Imperial Minister. But Ronan still wasn't satisfied and hated taking commands from the Supreme Intelligence. He even tried to start a civil war at one point, but was ultimately unsuccessful. Basically, neither the comic book nor the MCU versions of Ronan like taking orders, and they're both totally untrustworthy. We know, this really looks like a face you can trust, but don't be fooled. Although he served the Kree Empire, he was also constantly trying to overthrow it, so that's kind of a wash. But don't get us wrong, Ronan can be a valuable ally, and he's actually served the Kree well on many occasions in the comics. He stood against the Nihilists and the Phalanx, and fought to save the Kree from quite a few unfortunate circumstances. We've even seen Ronan get his heart broken, first when he realized his bride-to-be Crystal viewed their union as purely political. Ouch. And later when they were forced to separate by Black Bolt, after they'd spent so much time working on their relationships. His dedication to protecting the Kree instead of just using them as justification to increase his own power, and his capacity for compassion are sides of Ronan that we didn't get to see in the MCU. If Ronan hadn't been taken out by the Guardians of the Galaxy, it's possible we would have seen more complex aspects of his character instead of just the Kree fanatic we ended up with. So Ronan has successfully taken out the Guardians of the Galaxy, laid waste to Xandar, and now it's time to go up against Thanos. Now Ronan is definitely no weakling, but how does he compare to the Mad Titan in terms of brute strength? Well, let's just consider the fact that Ronan didn't want to mess with the Nova Corps without the Power Stone backing him up. Thanos, on the other hand, carved a path through them to get the Power Stone. He also punched the Hulk back into Bruce Banner, which is no easy task. But Thanos does have some weaknesses, and his primary one is that he frequently underestimates his enemies. He was confident Gamora and Ronan wouldn't turn on him, He treated Nebula like cybernetic garbage without fear of repercussions, and he destroyed the Infinity Stones, never imagining our heroes could undo the decimation. The Mad Titan is many things, but he's definitely not humble, and we've seen his pride to be his ultimate downfall before. Yeah, you're inevitable, we get it, pal. In a straight-up fight, Thanos would likely smash Ronan into tiny pieces. Hubris or not, he's incredibly powerful, and while Ronan is strong, he's not quite on the same level. But let's not forget about the Power Stone, which could easily be a game changer. The celestial E-Sun used it to wipe out an entire planet in one go, and Ronan seemed confident it would allow him to destroy all of Xandar and defy the Nova Corps. So couldn't it also take down the Mad Titan? Well, it definitely seemed like it could. After all, we've seen items like Stormbreaker take down Thanos in the past, and the Power Stone is enough to take out a planet. But does Ronan know how to use it? Thanos definitely did his homework, and he's able to wield the stones effectively when he gets his hands on them. He's also able to withstand the physical strain using the stones puts on someone. And let's not forget that Rocket was able to get the Power Stone away from Ronan easily enough. If Ronan had the Power Stone and the strength and knowledge needed to wield it, then there's a chance he could destroy Thanos with it. But one slip up and the Mad Titan is not only angry and mad, but he has the Power Stone too, and that's definitely not a fight Ronan could win. Thanos with the Power Stone was able to fight off Captain Marvel, and she punches spaceships apart. Really, it seems like Ronan's only chance at winning against Thanos would be if he was more like he is in the comic book. If he was a fantastic leader with a devoted following, it's possible he would be much more able to stand up against Thanos in the Black Order. The Ronan in the MCU acts like a spoiled kid who didn't get the Infinity Stone he wanted, and all that unadulterated rage isn't gonna help in the fight against Thanos. Let's not forget that strategy is an important component of a fight, and if Ronan wanted to stand a chance of winning, even with the Power Stone, he would have to outmaneuver Thanos. But you know Thanos would come to the battle prepared, and if Ronan has the Power Stone, Thanos is gonna come with his own weapon. Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight were able to fight against Vision and the Scarlet Witch, who drew their powers from the Mind Stone and very nearly overpowered them using their glaive and spear. If Thanos knew Ronan was coming, there's no way he wouldn't have been ready for him. Under perfect conditions, meaning he surprised Thanos with the Power Stone, Ronan might be able to win, but based on what we've seen in the MCU, Thanos would likely triumph. So in this scenario, we could see Ronan having a couple of wins. He could have taken out the Guardians of the Galaxy and destroyed the Xandarians using the Power Stone. But ultimately, it's unlikely he could best the Mad Titan, even with an Infinity Stone on his side. But how would that change things moving forward? Well, for one, would Thanos have been able to get the Soul Stone? In this situation, Gamora is gone along with the rest of the Guardians, which means Thanos couldn't sacrifice her for the Soul Stone. Sure, he has other kids, but she was his favorite and the only one he seemed to have any emotions towards whatsoever. He could have thrown another member of his Black Order off the cliff in the first place, he definitely would have done so. But clearly that wasn't an option. He would probably throw poor Nebula off the cliff even if it wouldn't get him an Infinity Stone. Poor Nebula. Just ask the Red Skull, the rules about the Soul Stone are pretty darn strict. He was stuck guarding it because he didn't love anyone enough to sacrifice them. Would the same have happened to Thanos? Are we the only ones excited about a spin-off workplace comedy featuring the Red Skull and Thanos as they work to guard the Soul Stone and maybe learn a little something about themselves in the process? Tune in next week for a new episode called Inevitability Buddies. And if the Guardians had been defeated in the first movie, that means Nebula and Gamora would never have reconciled, and Nebula would still be a villain. If Thanos was trapped on Vormir and her sister was gone, where would that leave Nebula? Instead of becoming a fan of paper football, it's likely we'd see more of an insidious space pirate Nebula like we do in the comic books. If the decimation never happened, Nebula wouldn't have teamed up with the remaining Avengers and firmly established herself as a hero. She'd probably be out there committing crimes and wishing Gamora was still alive so she could try to mow her down with a spaceship. Just think about the ramifications in the MCU if the decimation had never happened. Tony Stark would still be alive, but would he and Steve Rogers have ever made up? Would Clint Barton ever return to being a superhero, or would he stay with his family and try desperately to convince his children that mayonnaise doesn't belong on hot dogs? And then there's Thor, who was going through a bit of a rough patch for most of Endgame. Even without the decimation, he lost his home, his family, and half the Asgardians. If there was no decimation to undo and no Thanos to fight back against, would Thor ever get his groove back? Or would he still be sitting around playing video games with Korg and Meek? It seems like Ronan taking out the Guardians would have unlocked the bad ending for Thor as well as Nebula. Then there's the fact that our heroes wouldn't have to invent time travel if there was no decimation. This means Loki would be really and truly gone, instead of getting to abscond with the Tesseract and pop up again on Disney+. Steve Rogers would also be denied a happy ending, living out his life with Peggy Carter, and would still be Captain America instead of passing on the mantle to Sam Wilson. In fact, they would probably still be on the run along with Black Widow. who would have never had to sacrifice herself for the Soul Stone. All in all, the landscape of the MCU would have been drastically different than it was when Avengers Endgame concluded. Frankly, we wouldn't be opposed to an entire what-if episode about Thanos and Red Skull hanging out on Vormir. But we want to know what you think. Do you think things would have been more interesting if Ronan had defeated the Guardians and destroyed Xandar? Share your thoughts with us in the comment section and then click on subscribe for more videos from CBR. Bye for now.